2014. A Saturday in September. You are 31 years old and you are sitting in a glass box at a dealership on Covington Pike with a lease agreement in front of you and a pen already in your hand. $612 a month. 36 months. 12,000 miles a year. Grady is 2 chairs over doing the same paperwork on the same car in a different color. You both closed the same account on Thursday and you both got the same commission check, $9,400, the largest either of you has ever seen at one time. You have $340 in checking. Your savings account has never held more than $600. There is $80,000 in a retirement plan you have logged into twice. Now come forward 12 years. It is the spring of 2026. One of you drives a Camry with 191,000 miles on it and a faded scratch on the rear quarter panel and has $546,000. The other one has had 4 cars in that time and every one of them was beautiful and none of them were his. Same check, same Saturday, same glass box. The thing that split them took 11 minutes and neither of you would have called it a decision. Marisol runs finance and insurance, 40s, a blazer she keeps on all day because the showroom is cold, and she is very good at her job in the way that has nothing to do with pressure. She is pleasant. She explains things clearly. She is not hiding a single thing. She walks the sheet with you line by line. The acquisition fee is $895. The disposition fee at the end is $395. Overage is 25 cents a mile past 36,000. You do a thing you have never done in a dealership before, which is arithmetic. 612 times 36 is $22,032. Plus the acquisition. Plus the disposition. $23,322 over 3 years. And at the end of it you hand back the keys and own a set of floor mats. You drive about 17,000 miles a year for work. 5,000 over times 3 years at 25 cents. Another $3,750, $27,072 to rent a car. You read it again. You are not sure you did it right because it does not seem like it can be right because the number on the page in front of you is 612 and the number in your head is 27,000 and they are the same number wearing different clothes. You put the pen down. You tell Marisol you need to think about it, which is what everybody says when they mean no, and she smiles and hands you a card and does not chase you across the lot. You are not being noble. You want the car. You wanted it in the lot and you want it in the chair and you will want it in the parking garage at work on Monday when you get out of yours. What stops you is not character. It is that you accidentally converted a monthly number into a total in a room designed so that you would not, and once you have seen the total, you cannot unsee it. Grady signs. He is not being foolish. He just closed a $9,400 deal and he has been driving a Cavalier with a window that doesn't go all the way up, and a man who has earned something wants, reasonably, to feel it. You drive home in the Camry. 2007. 104,000 miles. Bought used for $6,400, paid off 8 months ago. There is a scratch on the rear quarter panel from a concrete pillar in a parking garage last March, about 4 inches long, down to the primer. Tuesday you stop at the auto parts store on Summer Avenue on the way home. Estelle works the counter, 60s, half glasses on a chain, and she matches the paint coat off the sticker in the door jamb without looking anything up. $6.99. You do the scratch in your driveway that evening with the little brush in the cap. It takes 11 minutes. When it dries, it is not invisible. Anyone who looked directly at it would see it. Nobody looks directly at it. You put the bottle in the glove compartment, quietly, without thinking about it, and that is where it stays for 12 years. That night you open the retirement account for the 3rd time in your life and you look at $80,000 and then you open a savings account with an online bank because the branch by your office pays nothing and this one pays something and you set up a transfer of $612 a month. Not because you are disciplined. Because you had already decided you could afford $612 a month. You had signed up for it emotionally on Thursday. All you did was change where it went. Nobody knows. There is nothing to tell. You did not buy anything. By March, your savings account has $3,700 in it, which is more than it has ever had, and you catch yourself checking it on Sundays. Right now, only about 3 in 10 Americans say they could cover a $1,000 emergency straight out of savings. You were one of the 7 for your entire adult life, and you did not know there was another category. 2015. The wedding. Your cousin gets married in October at a place off Walnut Grove with a gravel lot and a man in a vest directing cars. You park the Camry between at least Rover and something German you could not name if you tried. You sit in it for about 4 seconds before you get out, which is the only moment in 12 years you feel anything about that car, and then you go inside and you do not think about it again. Colleen does the books for your uncle's company, and she is at your table, 50s, reading glasses pushed into her hair all night. She asks what you drive because somebody mentioned parking, and you tell her, and she says her son has one and it's been great. That is the whole conversation. 9 seconds. Nobody at that table will remember it, including you, except that you do, because it turns out to be the last time in your life you feel self-conscious about a car. Here's what you keep noticing that year. Everybody is watching everybody, and nobody is watching anybody. Your cousin spent about $31,000 on that reception, and not one person in the room will be able to describe the centerpieces in a year. That is not a criticism. He is happy, and his wife is happy, and it was a good night. It is just that the performance costs actual money, and the audience is imaginary. Your automatic transfer has been running for 13 months. $612 a month. The savings account is at $8,100, and you check it on Sundays, out of habit now, the same way you check the weather. $8,100 is not a life-changing amount of money. It is not enough to do anything with. If you told somebody at that wedding, they would have been politely confused about why you brought it up. But it is the first time in your adult life that a bad month would not become a bad year, and there is no word for that and no way to photograph it, and no reason anyone would care. Grady posts a picture of his car that November, washed, in front of a building downtown at dusk, and it gets 140 some likes. It is a good photo. The car looks genuinely beautiful in it. You save $612 that month, and nobody presses anything. 2 years later, you learn to read a parking lot. The client is a distribution outfit off Getwell Road, and you have been calling on them for 8 months without getting past the buyer. Wyatt owns it. 60s, 3 warehouses, a company that grosses somewhere north of $20 million a year, and he drives a 2009 F-150 with a dent in the tailgate and a magnetic sign he takes off on weekends. You spend the first 4 months assuming he is the operations manager. His buyer drives a leased Range Rover. His buyer is 34, sharp, well-dressed, and makes about $91,000 a year. You had it exactly backward, and so does everyone. That's the part nobody explains about money at this level. It stops being a thing you display and becomes a thing you sit on, and a man who has spent 30 years learning that a truck is a tool does not suddenly need a truck that says something. The average vehicle on an American road right now is about 12.8 years old. For passenger cars specifically, it is over 14. That is not a country of poor people. That is a country where the loudest cars belong disproportionately to the people with the least behind them, and the quietest ones are impossible to sort. Wyatt eventually gives you the business because you showed up 11 times and knew the part numbers. Nothing about the car mattered either direction. You just spent 4 months talking to the wrong man. You don't tell Grady any of this. There is no way to say it that isn't a lecture. Your savings is at $19,000 by then. Nobody knows that either. 2017, the first turn-in. Grady's lease ends in October, and this is where you watch the machine work from the outside. The car has 41,000 miles on it. He was allowed 36. Overage at 25 cents comes to $1,250. There is a curb rash on one wheel that gets called excess wear at $410. Disposition fee, $395. $2,055 to hand back a car that was never his. Barrett manages sales, 50s, firm handshake, genuinely likes Grady and is genuinely glad to see him. And he does the thing dealerships do, which is roll it forward. New lease, $671 a month, and the 2055 gets folded in so that Grady does not write a check that day. Nobody lied to anybody. Every number was disclosed at signing 3 years earlier, and Grady read them. The fees are on page 4 in the same size type as everything else. There is simply nobody in that building whose job includes saying, "This is the second time, and there will be a third." That sentence has no revenue attached to it. So nobody says it, and it is not a conspiracy. It is just what happens when every incentive in a room points the same direction and no one has to coordinate anything. That's what a trap looks like from the inside. Not one bad decision. 4 reasonable ones, 3 years apart, each of them fine on the day. Grady's new car is beautiful. It is objectively nicer than anything you will drive for the next decade. You are in the parking lot at work that same week doing the scratch again because Memphis summer had lifted the edges of the first coat. $6.99 bottle, 11 minutes, still in the glove compartment. Your savings account crosses 41,000 that November, quietly, on a Tuesday, and you tell no one, and there is nobody to tell, because nobody has ever asked a man about his savings account in the history of parking lots. 3 years later, something happens that makes the whole thing legible for the first time. 2019. The raise. You get regional in February. 91,000 plus commission, up from 68. $23,000 more a year, which is about $1,900 a month before tax and something closer to $1,300 after. The thing nobody tells you about a raise is that it has a shape, and the shape is that you have about 6 weeks to decide what it is for before it quietly becomes the new floor. After 6 weeks, you cannot feel it. After 6 months, you cannot remember what you did before it. You spend 11 days thinking about it. You look at a truck once, on a lot on Covington Pike, on a Sunday when the place was closed and nobody could talk to you, which is the only way you ever look at vehicles now. Then you raise the automatic transfer from $612 to $1,400 a month, and you do not change anything else about your life at all. Not one thing. Same apartment until 2021, same groceries, same car, same haircut from the same man on Summer Avenue. It is boring. That is not a complaint, and it is not humility. It is the actual mechanism, and it is boring in the specific way that things which work are boring, and nobody is going to make a video about a man who changed a number in a banking app on a Tuesday afternoon. Grady gets regional the same year. Same money, 4 months later. He moves. It is a genuinely better house and a genuinely better school district, and his kids are genuinely happier there, and the payment goes from $1,210 to $1,940, and the closing costs on both ends run him about $21,000 that he never writes a check for, because it comes out of the proceeds. You never write the check. It is subtracted from a number you never held. He did nothing wrong. He got a raise and improved his family's life, which is the entire point of getting a raise, and every person he told about it congratulated him, and every person was right to. Nobody congratulated you because nobody knew, because changing an automatic transfer is not an event. You think about that sometimes, that the two of you got identical raises in the same year and one of them was visible from the street. March 2020. Everything stops for 9 weeks. Your company cuts commissions to a draw. Your income drops from about 91,000 annualized to 52, and nobody knows how long it lasts. You have $68,000 in a savings account. Nothing happens. That is the entire event. Your income falls by more than a third, and nothing happens. You buy the same groceries at the Kroger on Mendenhall Road. You make the same payments. You do not call anyone. You do not move anything around. You do not open a credit card. You think about that a lot that spring, quietly, mostly in the car, not with satisfaction. With something closer to vertigo, because you can see clearly for the first time what the last 6 years were actually for, and it was never the number. It was this. It was a 9-week period in which the world got very loud and your life did not change at all. Wealth is not the presence of things. It is the absence of a phone call you have to make. Grady is fine too. He wants you to know that. He gets deferrals on the lease and his wife's job holds, and it works out. But there are 11 weeks in there where he does arithmetic at 1 in the morning, and you know because he mentions it once, lightly, in a way that is meant to be funny. Roughly 1 in 5 people buying a new car in this country right now has a payment over $1,000 a month. The average new car payment hit a record $770 this year. More than a third of new car loans now run longer than 6 years, up from about 30% a year ago. None of that is a scandal. All of it is disclosed. It is simply what a monthly payment does to a person's ability to survive 9 bad weeks, and the monthly payment is the only number anybody is shown. You do not say a single word about your savings account. Not to Grady, not at work, not to your brother. There is no photograph of a checking account that does not move. There is no story you can tell about it. You did not survive anything. You are simply never in danger, and being never in danger is not a thing anyone claps for. You go back to work in June and your income comes back and you never mention any of it again. 2022. The year you almost break. You are 39 and the Camry is 15 years old and it needs an alternator, a rear main seal, and both front struts. Hugo has worked on it since 2016, 50s, hands you can't get clean, and he tells you straight that the total is $2,240 and that the car is worth about $4,000. That is the moment. Not the showroom in 2014. This one. Because $2,240 on a 15-year-old car feels stupid in a way that $612 a month never does. You run it in the waiting room on your phone. $2,240 buys you, realistically, 4 more years. That is about $47 a month. The alternative is a payment. Not because you want one, but because that is the only door anybody builds. New, or nearly new, 5 to 7 years of financing, 6.4% if you're lucky, and the average new car loan in this country now runs almost 70 months. You tell Hugo to do the work. He does not congratulate you. He writes it up. It takes 2 days and you drive a loaner with an ashtray full of somebody else's receipts. When you get the Camry back, you notice the scratch is showing through again on the rear quarter panel, and you do it a third time that Sunday. The bottle is about a third gone. $12.99 now, if you were buying it new, but you are not, because you have had this one since 2014. Nobody has said anything about that car in 8 years, not one person. You have driven it to a client's house, to a wedding, to your niece's graduation, and it has been commented on exactly 0 times. That's the whole secret, and it is not a secret. Nobody is looking. Everybody assumes everybody is looking, and nobody is looking, and the entire industry of looking successful is built on a misunderstanding that costs about $700 a month. Your retirement account crosses $300,000 that autumn, and you find out on a Tuesday, and you do not tell your wife until Thursday, and when you do, she says that's good, and asks what you want for dinner, which is exactly the correct response, and you love her for it. 2026. The count. You are 43. Retirement account, $377,000. The savings that started as $612 a month in 2014 and became a brokerage account in 2018 is at $137,000. Cash, $28,400. The Camry, $4,000, paid off since 2013, $546,000. The median net worth for an American household your age is around $136,000. You have never said that number out loud to another human being, and you are not going to. Your wife knows roughly. Your accountant knows exactly. That is the complete list, and it will stay the complete list. You think about what it would sound like if you did say it, at a table, at a wedding, in a parking lot. There is no tone of voice available that would make it land as anything other than a claim, and you have never once wanted to make a claim. Grady is on his 4th lease. He has paid, across 12 years, roughly $110,000 in payments and fees, and he owns nothing. And every one of those cars was genuinely a good car that he genuinely enjoyed. He is not broke. He has a house and a retirement account and 2 kids in decent shape. The difference between you is not intelligence, and it is not income. Your incomes have tracked within about $4,000 of each other for the entire 12 years. The difference is that on one Saturday in September, one of you did arithmetic in the room instead of after. Renard started in the spring, 26, hungry, and he asks you in the parking lot on a Thursday what you drive, and the way a young man asks that question. You tell him. He laughs, thinking it's a joke, and then he sees that it isn't, and does not know what to do with his face. You do not explain. You already know how it sounds. You think about telling him the number, and you don't, and the not. Telling is so automatic now that it barely registers as a choice. A man in a 15-year-old car telling a 26-year-old about compounding is the least persuasive thing on earth, and Renard will believe it in about 9 years, or he won't. Nothing is fixed. The Camry needs tires before winter, and the estimate is $940. Your daughter starts at a state school in 2 years, and the number attached to that is going to hurt. $546,000 is not retirement, it is a start, and you are 43, and you are aware of exactly how little that is against 30 more years. The bottle of touch-up paint is in the glove compartment, about half gone, 12 years old. The cap sticks now. The scratch on the rear quarter panel is 4 coats deep and still faintly visible if you know where it is, and nobody knows where it is, because nobody has ever once looked. Somewhere on a lot tonight, someone is sitting in a glass box with a pen in his hand and a number in front of him that is smaller than it should be, because it is a monthly number, and monthly numbers are how the whole thing works. He is not being tricked. Everything on that page is true, so the question isn't what you drive. It's what you'd have to stop showing people before anyone could tell how you were actually doing.